Off-Road Wombats by Libby Caldwell, Stephen Kramer, and Hayden Riley.
Our scale model. Our HPV is going to have tension suspension between the two pieces of the frame.
So day one, we had a task list, and our first task was to cut out the bottom and the top of our back frame. And we also had to do life-size drawings on paper of our frame. And this is us making the life-size drawing. We would lay the metal over paper and then trace the metal, make sure all of our measurements were right. And this is just more measurements. And so now we had to hand saw the pieces by frame because we weren't allowed to use the power tools. So we just had to use proper form, cut out everything perfectly. And if it wasn't perfect, then we would use the grinder, and we always made sure our glasses were on. So at first we had to use a file and instead of a grinder, so that was kind of labor intensive. So this is the bottom of our frame. We have it laid out on a piece of paper, and we're lining it up to weld. And at the end of this day, we were also able to learn how to use the bandsaw, which we use to cut the small pieces out. And unfortunately, within the first day, we managed to break the bandsaw, and so we put it out of use in the next class period. And so this is us marking up the bottom of the frame again, making sure it's just exactly perfect. And this is us lining up the side supports for our frame. So Hayden is now welding the base of our back together, and now it's completely done. And after that, we had to grind it together. So now we're grinding off all the welds, and that's the whole base put together. So the top and the bottom are now welded together with the seat in it, and it supported our weight, and it definitely was a good back base. So then our next problem was to make the front frame, and so we were just going to do that the same exact way, but we had to leave it for the next day because this was the end of our second day working. So this is the life-size drawing of the front, and here's the scale model of the front. And we were going to build the frame along with a support, and we also had some trouble documenting, so we decided to take a few more pictures. And so this is Hayden welding fixing some welds on the base, and also welding the front. And there's the front with the side supports, and we were lining everything up. And that's Hayden welding the front all together. So everything worked out well, and that's our front frame. We just had to grind it down a little bit, and everything worked fine. The back still needed a little bit of grinding, so Libby helped finish all that. And that was the end of our day. And so the next day, we ended up making hinges that would connect both of the frames together. These are small little hinges made out of a little bit of tube stock and also 5/8 cold roll steel. We just cut a hole in it and put them together on a rod, and we need to weld them to each frame separately. And I did a little tack weld to see how it would support, along with putting a spring in the middle, and it worked actually pretty well, and it supported our weight. But unfortunately, only having two hinges didn't work, so we had to put a third one on so it would have more support. And that's where we are now.